Welcome to Feasting on Agriculture. I'm Kristen Oaks-White, and today we're in Cameron Parish, where we're going to introduce you to one remarkable project, which is harnessing innovation and maximizing productivity to grow the Louisiana oyster industry.
Feasting on Agriculture is brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, Beef, it's what's for dinner, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, think rice.
Hey, David.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I'm Kristen.
Hey, welcome to Salt Revival Oyster Company.
Thank you for welcoming us out here. So tell me what's going on here.
Yeah, so this is our dock at Salt Revival Oyster Company, and as you can see, we kind of got a lot going on in this little space. Our oysters start in a hatchery, and there's several hatcheries along the Gulf Coast. We get them from Triple N Hatchery in Baton Rouge, from Murder Point Oyster Company, anywhere we can, basically. What you see in these bottles is baby oysters. And really, they're just too small to go out onto the farm. So we've made this bottle nursery, which is basically an upweller system. We're bringing in water from our nutrient-rich waters here in Cameron Parish, and we're bringing that in. It comes up through these tubes and out the top. But in the same time, it's sitting here just feeding the oysters. These baby oysters are in an all-day buffet, 24/7.
About how long are they in here from the time that you put them in to they get ready to go into the cages?
Yeah, it could be 2 weeks. It could be a month and a half, just depending on the oysters and how fast they grow. This is the actual oyster. It's just in a very, very small state. We consider these what's called an R4. And an R4 means the R stands for retains, and the 4 stands for millimeter. So it retains on a 4 millimeter mesh or strainer, which is what we have here. Okay. So every time we work the oysters, because they grow at different sizes, we like to strain them through something like this to separate them. And we get the ones that fall through are probably R2s, these are R4s, and as they grow up to even bigger, like these on the end here, again, these are all from the same batch, but you can see how fast these grow compared to how fast those are growing. Once they get to this size, we put them in these bags that go into floating cages out on the farm. These are oyster grow cages. There's several different types of grow out cages and bags, and this one is because our water depths, here it's about 6 feet. We would love to use an Australian longline system or a different type of system, but you really need 3 to 4 feet of water and hard bottom to get in there and work on. So for our farm and our location, we find that these are just very conducive to what the area allows.
So we try to flip them once a week, everything on the farm. We work them every 6 weeks. We'll bring in everything and start working, tumble them, grade them, re-separate them, because as they grow, they fill up the bag. You want less as possible in the bag where they stay growing fast. If they get too crowded, they get like a brick. That bag, be slapped full, and you don't want that. So we try to every 6 weeks work everything, and we'll come and check it every day. There's always something to do. When you just finish one job, you start another. It opens up a door for another one.
This process is much quicker than oysters growing in the wild, correct?
Yeah, and typically in the wild, you're going to get an oyster from what we saw at the nursery. You're going to take 3 to 4 years to really get to market size. That's really prevalent on the southeast part of the state as well. So when you go to a restaurant, you have this oyster that's this big. It's 4 years old.
Yeah.
And we'll start getting the oysters to market size for the half shell market in about 5 months.
Right now, what we have out here is 1.8 million oysters right now that you see on the farm, where when you're wild, you're allowed 15 sacks, and you got to find them. If you have a good year, bad year, it just depends on what you make. Where here you it justifies the labor, because what you put in is what you get.
We like to tumble our oysters, and we like to say every 6 weeks. It does different things. So number one, as you see the different hole sizes, here it separates the oysters by size. Just like when they're babies, we run them through a sieve or a strainer. This kind of acts the same way without us having to just manually do everything. So the different oyster sizes are going to fall into different tones.
Does it kind of help toughen up the oyster?
You bet.
Like
every time, yeah. Every time that the oysters work, it increases that shell density, and they create a little thicker shell.
This AOC project How did all of this come about?
Louisiana was actually the very first state in the Gulf Coast to approve AOC. We call it AOC, Alternative Oyster Culture. Texas calls it COM, C-O-M, which is Cultivated Oyster Management or something like that. Everybody has their own term for it. But Louisiana, don't quote me on the exact dates, I want to say it was 2008, 2009, they approved this process for oysters, and we were the very first state in the Gulf to do it. You know, unfortunately, I think because of a lot of regulations and the upfront cost it takes just to get going, we're actually been surpassed by Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and now Texas. Texas just approved it in 2019, and I think they have just as many, if not more, farms than we do already.
What's your favorite part of this process?
We can be beat tired at the end of the day and ready just to crawl up in bed, but we always look at each other and it's like, when does the work start? You know, because you can't beat this office. It's a crop that's very sustainable, and it also has a good purpose. I mean, all these oysters, adult oysters, like the ones we pulled out just now that we're gonna work, they can filter up to 50 gallons per day, every single one. So when Hubern said, you know, we've got so many oysters out here, basically what we have is a solar-powered water filter that is just benefiting our ecosystem. The whole thing just makes a lot of sense. So this is another way to add to the rich history of oyster farming, whether it's in the wild or like we're doing AOC. We just add to it, and it's such a rich thing that it just made sense all the way around.
When we come back, David is going to take us to his restaurant, Salt Revival Oyster Company, and we're going to sample some of these oysters. Stay with us. Well, we got off the boat in Cameron Parish, and now we're in Lake Charles. David, at your restaurant that you started after you started growing oysters, Salt Revival Oyster Company, and you guys have a lot of oyster dishes here, don't you?
We do. We have raw oysters, char-grilled oysters, baked oysters, all your typical oyster fare. We do fried oysters as well, so we have a couple of little different dishes with fried oysters. And we have 3 different kinds of baked oysters that we do here. So we have one of each. We do our own style of oysters Rockefeller.
Yeah.
So this is our play on it. The difference here is we're using collard greens rather than spinach.
Okay.
and just kind of make a little twist on it. We have some bacon, chopped bacon on this one that will get nice and crispy, and in the process we're going to top that with some Alabama white sauce. And then on this one we have some pimento cheese that we make here in house.
Okay.
So we'll bake that. That'll get nice and melty on the oyster, and we'll top that with what we call cowboy candy, which is some candied jalapenos.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm going to stick this in the oven.
Okay.
We have our char-grilled oyster butter here, but in that we have lemon, we have garlic, we have thyme, we have oregano, and that's about it. So we'll stick these on the grill, we'll get these going, we'll baste them in butter the whole time, and you can see the whole process, and we'll top it with Parmesan cheese.
Cannot go wrong putting that on anything.
No, right, you could bathe in that and be
Yes.
perfectly fine.
That's beautiful. That's the best smell too. So the oysters that you grow out at the farm, do y'all pretty much go through all of them?
Right now we do,
Here?
because we talked about, we started the farm before the restaurant, and we had no idea what to expect. So we got into a point where like, man, we hope we have enough oysters to sell to the restaurant, because we were using quite a bit every week. And so we use them all for here, but now that I think we have 1.8 million seed in the water. And so our intention is to hit other markets as well, and sell to other restaurants. So we'll stay here in Lake Charles, but then we'll start hitting in markets like Houston, Austin, Dallas, and those kind of things, and get the Cameron oyster nationwide is the goal.
Awesome. I have a confession to make. While I love char-grilled oysters, I have never tasted a raw oyster, I think because I'm scared of them.
Yeah.
So
This is the best time to start.
Okay. You just drink it?
You just drink it. Just slurp it down.
How do you? It tastes very good. It is such a weird experience though. David, thank you so much for today. First out on the water, and then enjoying the fruits of your labor because these oysters are to die for. If you want to learn more about Salt Revival Oyster Company or visit their restaurant location here in Lake Charles, you can visit our website at twilatv.org. Until next time, see us feasting on agriculture.
Feasting on Agriculture was brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board, Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat, and by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council, Beef, it's what's for dinner, and by the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board. Think rice.